In that context, it is he who, Peter, who illustrates by simply saying, this is what I expect for your behavior to be, is that when they see, not when they hear, but when they see the purity and the reverence of your, I love the fact that it says lives. Why? Because here's what I want you to understand. Verse 2, as much as United States of America, as much as our churches, First Baptist, my home, your family, as much as we all need purity, and we, apparently, 2,000 years ago, we have lost the fear of the Lord, the reverence towards the Lord or towards the word of the Lord. As much as we need those things restored, please hear me say this. Peter is not saying for our name to reverence. What Peter is implying is that this is simply the result of being united first and foremost with Christ and then with one another. And if that is the case, if you were to be united with Christ, if you have never given your life to Jesus, this is what it means. It means that this purity and this reverence is the purity and the reverence of somebody else given to you. It's not the better version of who you are. It's not just you taking your marriage into marriage counseling or therapy. It's not just you hitting rock bottom and saying, okay, now, I'm going to take this for real. Now that I got infected by COVID-19 or whatever you might be on your spectrum in your life, listen for a second. This is the moment where we understand that when it comes to the unity with Christ, if you have been united with the pretzel, with the character of God, that implies that you literally have been given the purity, you have been given the reverence of somebody else. Who's that somebody else? Exactly. That's Jesus. Now, how do you know that you have been given this? Listen to the next word. Because this purity and this experience of reverence is only and exclusively filtrated, expressed, crystallized in community. This is why in moments like this, when we're not able to see each other, when we're not able to do our children's ministry, our youth ministry, when we're not able to do Sunday school, when we're not able even to do our worship services, this is why we simply find ways to do life in community. Not because we have to, but because we get to. Is that you don't have to plug in into the internet. You get to plug in into the internet. You don't have to read the Bible. You get to read the Bible. You don't have to live a life of holiness and righteousness. You have been empowered by a forensic agent, Jesus Christ, thou to experience this in the fullness. And again, I want you to listen to this. This is a very touchy subject because he says such as elaborate. He explains what it is. The elaborate hairstyles and the gold jewelry that you have in your fine clothes. I don't believe the Bible is opposing for people, especially ladies, to look nice. I believe what Peter is describing, and this is the important thing, is that your appearance, your physical external appearance, is always connected to your worldview. It's not just how you look, it's what you believe. It's not just the next thing that you're trying to adapt or to go after, but it's exactly your core values, that who you are eventually is reflected on what you do and how you lived. Our external appearance is a result of our brand new world, the forensic worldview of somebody else. Well, he simply closes the conversation by reminding us. He says, I want you to do this instead. Instead of letting culture drive your worldview, I want you to use culture as a vehicle to convey your worldview. I'm going to say that again. The approval of culture. What I want you to do, Peter says, look at verse 4. I want you to utilize culture because culture can potentially be redeemed by Jesus through Christians. I want you to see culture as the vehicle, the stage to display the worldview of Jesus, the character of Jesus. How do you do that? Well, it should be that of your inner self. Again, it begins with who you are, not what you do. Now, eventually what you do is a reflection of who you are. So the transformation of that inner self is based on an unfading beauty. If you remember, Peter spoke earlier about the inheritance, this unfading inheritance. God is speaking of himself to the Levites back in the Old Testament when the land was distributed, the tribes, when they conquered the promised land. And the 12 tribes were receiving the land that they were to possess. The Levites Those who come from that lineage of priesthood, they did not receive a piece of land because God told them, I am your inheritance. It's not a piece of land. I am. I believe that this is exactly what he's talking about in here. In the concept of unfading beauty is the beauty that is literally accentuated, created by the forensic agent, which I'm going to say that again. The forensic agent, which is Jesus of Nazareth. And what he does, he creates, he brings into us the understanding that although the physical, although the external, will be damaged, and this generation will know damage to the fullest because they're going to be persecuted. They're going to be things are going to be taken away from them, the uncertainty of life, and eventually they're going to be executed. And Peter says it is that unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. So once again, is that component of the character, component of that forensic spirit of Jesus, which is gentle, spirit which is quiet. So I'm going to say that one more time. Look at the antidote of how we navigate the craziness of culture. We do it through the gentleness and the quietness of the Spirit of Jesus Christ. And this is why he says at the very end, this is the Spirit. This is the only character that God literally looks of great worth in his sight. My prayer, our prayer, that as we celebrate Independence Day weekend, that we become the nation, that we are known for the inner being. That although the pandemic is changing the course of life, the pandemic is taking many lives, the pandemic is shifting the economy and the future of many. Would it be possible that on a morning like this is the day where we are reminded about this inner being, about the values and the worldview of God's sight, that apparently, based on God's economy and God's perspective, he only approves, he only sees with great worth the spirit that is gentle, the spirit that is quiet. It is in the Bible that the only person that receives this distinctiveness, these characteristics, is exactly Jesus. So I am not inviting you to become or to have a quiet and gentle spirit. I'm inviting you to embrace the Spirit of Jesus that will create in you, in me, gentleness from a spiritual component. You will become the presence of God translated into that submission, translated into that unity, translated into that authority that God has given to all of us.